Thank you for being here. We're going to get started. This is the first time we're doing an interview-style MakerSpeak, so this is a little bit new to us. Fingers crossed it goes okay. My name is Danny Sosa. I am a full-time staff member here at the Makerspace. I also teach a couple of classes in the ENGR program. I see a couple of familiar faces out in the audience. By show of hands, who is here for the first time, never set foot in the Makerspace before? Welcome. We're glad you're here. We are the coolest thing on campus. We're cooler than the gym and the library and the non-existent football team and everything else that NJIT has going on. This is the coolest thing that NJIT is spending your money on, so you might as well come. Some feedback here? You might as, so that's sorted out. You might as well come here and take advantage of the millions and millions of dollars that have been invested in this facility. We do all sorts of cool fabrication here. We have a wood shop, we have a lot of metalworking equipment, we have laser cutters and 3D printers. Anybody struggle to 3D print elsewhere on campus? Just save that time. Come print here for $2 an hour. Yeah, check us out. We also occasionally do these colloquium-style events called MakerSpeaks. And traditionally, it's been one person standing behind a microphone, talking to a room of people. They have to prepare a presentation. So we figured it might go a little bit more easily and entertainingly if we did it interview style, which is what we're going to try doing here today. Those of you who are here for colloquium credit, I think that's separate from what I'm about to say, but those of you who are here at all, this is new as well. We're doing something, anybody ever heard of Badger before? Yeah, it's new to me as well, but you can get some sort of credential or credit for having come here by scanning a QR code on your way out. Those QR codes will be posted towards the end of the scheduled event. They are not posted yet because we want to make sure you at least stay till around 3:30. On your way out, look for those QR codes, scan them, and eventually you'll get a little badge, digital badge that says you came to this. All right, enough gassing on. I would like to introduce this guy. This is Darshan Patel. Darshan is a NJIT alum. He and I both met in 2008, I think.
That sounds right.
Yeah, 2008, we were here in the industrial design program studying under Jose Alcala, who was here a minute ago but seems to have dipped. How many people have heard of ID? Industrial design? Okay, we got any IDs in the audience? Awesome, all right. So Darshan and I are both designers. Darshan still works as a designer, and you may hear me say ID, I'm referring to industrial design. So Darshan and I studied industrial design here. We both graduated in 2012. From there, Darshan went on to an internship and eventually full-time employment at TerraCycle. Is that right? You started an intern? Cool.
No, I was just straight full-time there.
Straight hired. Oh, great. Good for you. So he was working in TerraCycle in Trenton, which is a pretty cool recycling-based sort of environmental company, where he worked as an industrial designer and manager of dozens and dozens of unpaid interns. He was there for nearly 5 years before making a decision to go to grad school as an adult, something we're going to talk about because I know that might be relevant to some of you. He went to Domus Academy in Milan, where he earned a master's degree in user experience design. He then parlayed I believe that was an internship or an embedded project at Verizon, right, into full-time employment at Verizon, and from there has made a career move to Audible, right over there, down near Broad Street. He actually works in Newark. Maybe you could tell the folks a little bit about what you do when you are not working.
Like my hobbies and things? That's loud. Like my hobbies and things?
Yeah, right on.
Got a lot of hobbies. All of them I think are kind of ridiculous, but riding motorcycles, flying airplanes, flying kites, like just all kinds of silly things. Things that keep you young, I guess, like right a child.
Darshan is quite young at heart, which is part of, we wanted to have an RC car up here to play with while we were talking, but we thought it might be a little bit too distracting.
Or a baseball glove.
There we go. So actually, let's start off here with making a change in your career. So you did what I think is kind of a hard move to put down a paying job and then go spend a bunch of money to earn a degree, hoping that that is going to pay off for you in the long run.
Yeah.
So can you maybe speak to a little bit, without getting into UX specifically, speak a little bit to that decision-making process behind deciding to go back to school?
Sure. Honestly, I worked for 3 years at least after graduating from NJIT, where I enjoyed what I did, but I was like, I know I have to make a move to get out. And like you said, I've been there almost 5 years at TerraCycle before I actually switched careers or switched to grad school. And at the 3-year mark, I was like, maybe I could do something else. But I was scared. Like, it took me 2 years to build up the courage to be like, you know what? I got to go to grad school and switch up what I'm doing. That was hard. Like, I was legitimately scared. Like, you're going to take off from work, spend all this money, go somewhere where you don't know, what your prospects might be. But what honestly helped me, I thought I was older at the time when I left TerraCycle. I was, I think, 29 years old, something like that. And I was like, maybe I should switch careers. But then I was like, maybe that's crazy. Like, let me just stick with the industrial design thing. I do enjoy it. I loved what I did. But I also liked other aspects of like the UX field, as far as I knew at the time. And what helped me actually make the decision was I had an intern who was 42 years old, and she was in grad school, like following her dream of being an industrial designer at 40 plus. And I was like, if she could do it, I could definitely do it. Like, there's no limit. It's never too late to switch what you want to do if you want to switch. And so after I had actually considered it, 2 years of building courage and then actually diving in.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Those of you who are noticing how comfortable Darshan is on a microphone, you can chalk that up to something I forgot to mention, which is that 3 seasons?
3 seasons.
3 seasons. This guy was on a reality TV show called Human Resources, which was shot on location at TerraCycle.
Don't Google it. It's really bad.
Don't Google it right now, anyway. Awesome. So now, for those of you in the audience who aren't familiar with user experience design, I'm kind of excited about this as well, because this is also me learning a bit about what my best friend does for a living. So in the broadest possible terms, what is user experience design?
Well, let me say what it is often limited to, or what people think that it's limited to. A lot of folks think that UX design or user experience design is digital product design, apps, web, whatever, something on a screen. And I think that is predominantly true, just the way jobs are positioned, the way you look for gigs in that field. But I think UX design is anything where a user has to deal with something. Like, it doesn't need to be a screen. It could be a door. It could be a microwave. It could be a coffee mug thing. There's elements of UX design intrinsically in physical product design. So I think it's just anything where a user interacts with something is UX design.
Awesome. When we were talking just the other day, we were talking about how industrial design has a bunch of different disciplines. So like, I myself am, at least by training and the majority of my experience, a consumer product designer. I have worked a lot in the durable medical goods field, as well as quite a bit of kitchen products, grill products, commodity stuff like that. You're churning out hundreds of designs a year. And so for me, when I think about industrial design, my own field, I'm mostly thinking about what I've seen of that field. Any engineers in the room? It's an engineering school. There's probably a fair bit of you out there. Fewer hands than I expected, actually. Most of you are entering or planning to enter fields where you will be one type of engineer, one type of computer programmer, or whatever it is your field is. I'm not really familiar with how the UX design field breaks down into different areas of specialization. The way industrial design breaks down into product design, packaging design, automotive design, exhibit design, et cetera.
Well, I mean, I would say when you're looking at just UX as a overarching term, there's 2 like broad ends to the spectrum. One is the UI designer, where like you're designing buttons, colors, typography, that sort of thing, almost like a graphic designer, but specifically for digital products. The other end, which is kind of what I am more of, is the experience side. So user flows, finding problems, understanding like the overall service of whatever thing you're designing for. So on a day-to-day basis, I'm not designing buttons. I'm not designing, like specific, like detailed elements. A lot of those things have already been determined, and I'm like playing Legos with different things to make user flows. That's my job. But within the UX field, like, yes, you could be a UX UI designer, but you could be a conversational designer. Like, everyone uses ChatGPT and all these other things. That is a job in and of itself, like understanding how to communicate, how to present conversational information, that is a gig. We have people that do that specifically. We have UX researchers. We have people who are just specifically copywriters, UX copywriters. And you'd think that that's a role that could be so easily taken over by AI. It turns out it's really hard for an AI to very specifically understand the screen or the experience and output something relevant for that. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up AI. I might jump ahead a little bit here just because it's been broached. How long until AI puts you on the breadline?
It could be anywhere from 6 months to 6 years. I think it's we have so many AI tools today, and I think a lot of companies are just adding a layer of AI mechanism to whatever it is whatever tool they have available for you. Just because if they don't, they're not going to be relevant anymore. But I myself playing around with all these tools to make UI elements. Has anyone heard of FigJam or Figma? Figma has Figma Make built into it. All these other services. Has anyone played with vibe coding? Yeah, Lovable. There's so many different platforms for it. If you've played around with them, you'll know that they're not perfect and they need a lot of work. They need somebody to refine the thing. I think that's going to be the case for a very, very long time. The human element of design and product in general. An AI is not going to find the problem. We have to find the problem. We have to do our research, talk to people, understand what the issues are. AI is not going to do that. AI is just going to make it easy to find the solution or find the create the solution, but not actually determine what it should be.
Interesting distinction there. And you mentioned research.
Mm-hmm.
What does UX research look like? What does that process like?
There's two forms, generative research, where you have no idea what you're working on. You just know, hey, we want to improve this experience. We want to improve the sign-on experience for something. You keep it very, very open-ended. You just talk to customers, understand, hey, they're prospective customers that, maybe don't know your product. What is the pain points for them? Super, super open-ended. From there, we tighten that down into specific issues. So let's say a sign-on screen is the problem. It turns out that logging in's got some problems where people fall off. How do we improve that specific feature? With that, when we're doing feature level work, it's more detailed and focused, we'll often do A/B testing. So you just test it with Now, I think we're back. Yeah, just testing, A/B testing to understand which is more successful. I think in tech in general, it's really easy to do variable testing. With a physical product, if I wanted to see is this cup handle better than a different cup handle, you got to physically manufacture a ton of those to understand that. With digital products, it's so easy to be we want to test 50 different variants on this thing, different button layouts, different positions of things. Super easy, and then you just determine, oh, this 1A is the most successful.
That's super convenient and
I know.
So much faster than...
That's one of the things that drew me into the UX field and switching from industrial design is the speed at which you go, I want to work on this thing. 2 months later, it exists. But with with physical products, 2 months later, you might still be just prototyping.
Yeah, when we were working, this is commodity products mass-produced overseas, mostly in China, a little bit in Thailand. Our work cycle was we were working about 12 to 14 months in advance of our planned release. That is when we would start designing that product. And then with certain logistical concerns, how long it takes the parts on the water, as well as is Chinese New Year coming up. These are massive things around which you need to schedule your production. So being able to flick a switch and do what I'm not sure everybody got was A/B, that's alpha bravo testing, where you have two different versions. They're both out there in the wild. You're gathering data about both of them, and you can sort of compare afterwards. Anybody ever notice that? Catch yourself up in an A/B test? Wait a minute, that button wasn't there on Amazon yesterday, and in 2 weeks it's gone. Yeah. Thank
Well,
you for all participating in this unwillingly. You are
I
being
see it on
experimented
Instagram all the time where like they change the positioning of the buttons or like I think for me currently the messages are on the bottom row, but like for other people they're still in the top row. I'm in one version of the A/B test or A, B, C, D, E, F, G, like who knows how many there are.
Because we have that to look forward to, messages
Yeah.
at the bottom. What is your biggest, as a very persnickety person, I personally feel like industrial design has empowered me to critique all industrial design. Like being able to make one or two things, suddenly you become a judge of all things. I know welders feel this way too. Welders experience the world through very different eyes than you or I might. How do you experience the world of UX as somebody who has a lot of control over a small portion of the world's user experience? How often do you find yourself critiquing the experiences to which you are subjected or get to participate in?
I think everyone gets like annoyed by these little things, and oftentimes you don't know that you're annoyed. You're like, oh, this doesn't really work well. There are so many like glaring experience errors in everything. Like that Instagram thing, like currently for me, now I have to relearn automatically where my thumb goes for messages. And I have to think about it more. I'm annoyed. Like I'm not gonna be able to verbalize that, but Instagram is probably gonna learn that I use messages less now because of the change that they had. But so many things. Like I hate swipeable actions, like hidden swipeable actions. You'll see this in like the Gmail app where if you swipe left or right, it could archive it or delete it or reply. And it's not consistent across all of your platforms. So if you have like different email things, they're all different. And maybe you can adjust them. But like I hate the inconsistency in that sort of thing with hidden actions that are like a physical thing that you like memory. Your muscle memory does it. I just swipe left to delete something.
I am not an Apple user. I struggle with this device every single day that I touch it, so I can completely identify with that. Now, how do a team of persnickety UX people like you work together towards anything? How do you collaborate with your peers when you are on a team? I'm curious about both multidisciplinary teams and then also teams of peers who are all doing UX and all have these sorts of, we all relate to this stuff personally. We have had positive and negative experiences with user experience, and so it seems like the kind of thing where a designer might run the risk of forming a personal connection with an outcome. Does that cause problems?
I think in general we try not to get emotionally attached to anything that we do. But I guess it might be helpful to start from the top as to where we get our work and then how that's distributed amongst the team. So, like I said, there'll be like a research study done, a giant research study. It takes 5-6 weeks to do, and we determine that there's some problems in the experience, whatever that may be. We break the experience down into different groupings. So different teams are focused on different things, right? Like at Audible, I primarily work on the growth and discovery. So what that means is I'm focusing on the prospective customer, where they don't know about the Audible service, they need to learn about it, they have to sign up for it, somehow be convinced that like it's something they want to fit into their life. But there's other folks whose job is to just focus on the player. Other people focus on the discovery of new content. Everyone's got a different like piece of the pie. And so that's how the team itself is broken up. And when I'm working on something, I just understand that like, okay, my pie is the discovery aspect of it. All the designers on my team are also just focusing on discovery. So we have like a lot of expertise on the prospect journey. But the way we like distribute the work is just project managers break it out into as small of a bite as possible. Yeah, and then it's almost on a case-by-case basis. I'm an independent contributor, which means like I don't have anyone underneath me. I get my own projects. I deal with them however I need to deal with. But I pull in people as I need to. So if I need help on specific UI design, I want to change that swipeable action into something else. I work with a UI designer to design a new swipeable action. I might work on it myself, but there might be somebody who has high expertise in the UI design itself that would be really good at that. Same with like copywriting. I pull in people as we need. That's funny. That's weird. Yeah.
Awesome. Sorry, that was super distracting. I actually lost the thread of the question I wanted to ask you. Okay, awesome. Specifically negative feedback. So you're talking about working in a multidisciplinary team, or working with...
I don't get negative feedback. I'm perfect.
Okay, next question. In my background, and I guess this is your background too, but as a practicing product designer, you have to accept negative feedback. And this is something that I wish Jose were still here, because he would be laughing about this. Like, we get it beaten into us or beaten out of us when we're studying design, that like, you don't just get to hang this thing on the refrigerator when you're done with it. It has to be subjected to critique, because it has to function like any engineering product. An airplane has to work just as much as a spatula has to work. And so we find, I think, through repetition and maybe attrition, that sense of personal offense when somebody doesn't like my idea is gone. I have noticed in my work with, especially with students, I kind of have to check that. I'm just used to speaking very directly about the quality of someone's work, and a lot of times that it's not the best way to inspire somebody, especially somebody who's not in a degree program that is going to beat the sensitivity out of them. So I want to say, maybe a specific question here is, what is the thing in UX, whether it's Verizon or Audible, whatever, that you invested the most time in that was then just axed?
I had something like that like last year. I just want to comment on the negative feedback. I think an ego in design is a poor thing to have. Like, just kill your ego. Like, you have no idea what the environment changes like, what the user's needs change like, and you're just moving with you go with the flow. So being upset that your design isn't successful, it just means like, okay, I gotta just keep working on it. Like, there's no, you're not a bad designer for that. It's just, needs more work. So there was this project that I worked on last year for almost 2 years ago. It was 8 months of doing a thing, and then we had a high-level executive look at it and go like, you know what, we need to pivot. We want to put our money towards other things, and I was just like, okay, that's fine. Like, no part of me, personally at least, feels like offended. It's just business goals are business goals, and as long as I'm working towards like something that is, I think, important, helping the user accomplish a task, I don't care. It's fine. Oof.
That was my fault. I apologize. I hit my foot with the mic. Sorry, soundboard.
Here.
I apologize to everyone. A follow-up question I had from the AI that we sort of breached earlier was, what aspects of your job do you look forward to being able to spend more time on, as hopefully the more tedious tasks are automated?
I love user research. I love putting work in front of actual people, like actual customers, and finding their thoughts and ideas around it. It's almost like, in a sense, like gossipy. A lot of times what we'll do is we'll have a research study where there's a person who's an expert at interviewing customers. And I just sit in the back of the room on the Zoom call, just listening and taking notes. And it's just fascinating to see like how people approach a problem and try to solve it. And like so many times you as a UX designer think, oh, this is such a straightforward thing. You just gotta typing in your email and making a password. And people find the craziest ways to break whatever it is that you're trying to do. And that's fascinating to me. And I think that's one of those things that like AI can't be the person like that does the crazy thing that no one expected to happen. AI is like about pattern recognition. So can it recognize a pattern of problems? Sure. But if there's something new that has never been presented to a customer that is opportune for, messing around with, it's not gonna know what to do.
Interesting. Yeah, using something that aggregates behavior to simulate outliers seems like, well, it's certainly beyond my field and my understanding of AI. You mentioned this a little bit with A/B testing, but I have a specific question here: is how do you approach making a decision? And maybe it doesn't have to be a specific answer about how like Audible checks this, but in a more general sense, we are surrounded by an engineering college, and I think the way that a lot of engineers approach spending their time on a project is to start with a problem statement. And not all design projects start with a problem statement. A lot of times you're splitting hairs to optimize something where you might have two equally valid solutions. How do you go about distinguishing between, again, two equally valid solutions when it seems like a toss of the coin could distinguish between them?
Cost is often a big driver. Which one costs more money to develop and build out? If they're both equally perfect, right, then a lot of times it's just like design intuition. If they test equally perfectly well, like if you A/B tested them and they're both nearly flat, then it's a call. Somebody just makes a call. But oftentimes, like an experience will weed itself out. You A/B test with 50,000 people, they're gonna, find the little nuance that means like B is better than A.
You've talked a lot about the user, and I mean it's in the title, right? User experience. At the end of the day, they're the one using your product, but they are, I guess, in some small sense of the word, paying for it. But they're not giving you your tasks on a daily basis. So, like, what other stakeholders are at place or are present in this process?
Yeah. I mean, spot on where, like, as a UX designer, your role is to be the voice of the customer. They're not in the room, they're not in the office, they're not actually there to present their thoughts. So my job is to put my brain into the mind of the customer. But I work with folks who, like, their primary role is to increase, profits. Like, that's their driver, their metric that they're being judged on at the end of the year is we're a for-profit business, and their goals are always going to be around increasing this thing or that thing. And so sometimes they butt heads. Like, it's not necessarily always a case where, like, the best user experience is the thing that gets pushed out, because the one that's more profitable to the company is going to be more relevant to the growth and the future of the company.
I personally think it's kind of refreshing to hear that, because I think we all know that our wonderful experience is not everyone's number one priority. Companies are out there to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Audible is not a non-profit company, neither is Verizon, neither is any of the design companies I ever worked for. And so I think it's nice to hear that acknowledged. I've got
Spitting
a question.
Truth.
Yeah. Because NJIT doesn't really have, we don't have a UX minor, right? My understanding is we have a UX master's program. Design for user experience? Oh, good, that's relatively new then. Do you know what department it's under? Yingwu College of Computing. Got it. Cool. So it's taught under sort of a computer science. I beg your pardon? Informatics. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so then maybe this question isn't directly aimed at all the students here, but say you found yourself at a college where this was not offered as a major. Or maybe to spin it a different way, if you're still committed to your major and are interested in UX enough to, say, get a second degree, get a certificate, like, are there any other routes short of doing what you did, which is to go to grad school and get a master's degree, or, for undergrads, go get a bachelor's?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I think, from a design field have looked at UX as something that maybe they're interested in. I mean, there's a lot of overlap in terms of, like, the way you find a problem, the approach to, to find a solution. There's a lot of overlap with industrial design, any of the design orgs. I work with people that used to be architects in the past, and now they're UX designers. I think grad school is one way to do it, which is what was my preferred thing, partially because I thought I might want to teach also, and so having the master's degree is helpful to get a teaching job. But a lot of people do, like, a course, like a 10-week course, a 6-month course. I think all of those paths are valid. I don't think they're necessarily the only way into it, though. Like, realistically, what you need is a portfolio. Like, showcase your thinking, showcase the work, the output, and having a course or going to grad school just forces you to create a portfolio. So if you are a disciplined individual and you say, I'm going to spend the next 3 months, designing a digital service or whatever, you could create a great portfolio piece that, didn't have to cost you $5,000, $10,000. You just did it.
You brought up an interesting topic, and it's portfolios. Every time a designer friend of mine wants to move from one job to another, there's this, I have to make a portfolio, or I have to update my portfolio, because a tremendous amount of work goes into presenting yourself in a way that presents itself. So I have to put enough of me into this document to be able to send it to be read by a stranger and have that person get a sense not only of what I have accomplished in this field, but then also like, you know, what kind of person am I going to be to work with? What are my skills? So for the audience who may be, say, entering fields where portfolios are not typically used to showcase ability, but rather like 10-page resumes or whatnot, I kind of think that there is an opportunity for people to showcase themselves in a more compelling way than just a piece of paper. It's all black and white and super sterile. Do you have any tips for what should be like placed in a portfolio, how it should be constructed, how to communicate?
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk to that a little bit, please.
Yeah. I do want to say about the resume. All of my friends will say, oh, I got to update my resume. That's the easiest thing to update compared to like having to put together a portfolio. So if you're not familiar with like the idea of a portfolio, which is a big design thing, it's essentially you're putting together case studies of your work. Everybody's got projects that they've been working on, and by putting together a case study, what you're outlining is your process, maybe how you discovered the problem, how you went about researching, details of that problem, the solution, and then maybe even the outcomes of your solution if you implemented it somewhere. What that shows to a prospective employer is your thinking, your brain, right? Like a resume can't possibly show how you approached the problem. Like it's just a paragraph or two on whatever it is that you're doing. So I would say like even if you're not a designer, but you just created something, like if you're a developer, if you're into IT or whatever programming, what did you make? How did you do it? A case study that outlines that visually, preferably, I think would present your thinking way better than a resume would and make you more hireable or easier for somebody to think that you know what you're doing. Otherwise, you got to hope that your resume is so compelling that they pull you in for an interview and then you finally get to do it. Why not send a document that can do it?
I like that a lot. Hopefully people are taking notes. Actually, something I wanted to say at the beginning, speaking of taking notes, we have a couple of giveaways for people who ask worthwhile questions. So if anything strikes your curiosity, just make a note. Don't forget it. There will be a Q&A session at the end of this. Yeah, I mean, the portfolio thing is interesting. For those of you who are interested in it, go get some visual aids. Portfolio design is, I don't know, you're probably not being taught this right now, but it is worthwhile to learn a little bit of graphic design and a little bit of software enough to present an idea visually in a succinct way. You can think of a portfolio almost like a personal website that has just been printed out. A lot of times people will use a digital website, but I think there's something worthwhile about having a physical copy that you can just mail to somebody and force them to look at your accomplishments.
I also want to say there's so many tools that can help you build like a visual thing now. I mean, you could make a video of your project with AI tools that you just upload all of your documentation, your information. It could pump out something for you even. Like building a portfolio has been easier now than it ever has been in the past.
That's cool. It's not going to get any easier if you don't have documentation, though. So if you are working on a project, especially a physical project in the Makerspace, I have so many projects that I've completed that started with 2 before pictures and then like 32 hours of work and then 1 picture of it when it's finished. And I told myself I was going to take a picture of every single step. So whether it's tapping somebody to take pictures of what you're doing so you can document that, or just remembering to take those pictures yourself, some process pictures are very worth having if you're interested in making a portfolio. I use InDesign for making my portfolio, but like related to software, what are some software tools that you use in the day-to-day completion of your responsibilities?
Day-to-day for design work, Figma is the big one. We mostly design in Figma and our like design library of like all the components. Components are like buttons, text fields, all the things that go into a page. That's all in Figma. But that's actually a copy of what developers have on their end. So it's a copy of the database of all of the actual things. So I don't need to work in a web browser or anything like that. I design a thing like I'm playing with Legos, literally. And then developers translate that into an actual functional experience.
Is Figma something that people can experiment with, or is it expensive?
It is.
What's that like?
It's free. I think it gives you like, for the free program, gives you like 3 projects, and it's a great way to just learn how to mess around with it. It's actually a pretty intuitive program, and even if you're not a designer, it's great for like laying out something. If you want to build your portfolio in there, it's a great tool to do it. My favorite thing about it is that it's collaborative. So like I can add you to the project, and you can look at what I'm doing, make modifications. Like it's fantastic. Way better than like the old school like solo artist on a screen type of thing.
Cool. That actually sounds like it might be. I can imagine some student projects for which software like that might be a little bit helpful, better than sharing screenshots back and forth on Slack. A little bit of a change here. I actually missed this question earlier, but what are some like personality traits that you think would be like conducive to a career in UX design? Or let me put that a different way. Bump the career. What are some personality traits that would make it easier for someone to be an effective UX designer?
I think for any designer, this probably applies. Like being detail-oriented, yes. But like actively searching for problems. Like I'm upset a lot of my days because I see issues just around my world. And I think that translates well to finding problems in the work that you're doing. Being curious about the people, like empathetic. That is huge, because if you're going to just focus on the problem, then you're probably more of an engineering mindset person. I would say the design side of it is more humanistic. You're thinking about the user experience, less about the technical output, which is like the technical output is like secondary for me at least. It's more about the human experience. So, like how empathetic are you? How much do you care about what the other people are going through? Can you put yourself in somebody else's shoes if they're not there? That sort of thing.
Awesome. Industrial design even is a fairly new field. Architects has been going on for thousands of years. Engineers have been doing their thing for thousands of years. Industrial design, in my estimation, or for like, it seemed like it was always somebody's responsibility. It was often being neglected. And then somebody drew a box around it and said, we're going to call all this stuff industrial design. We're going to push it over here and make it these people's problems. And then we started making industrial designers as people who just live within that one area of specialization, that empathy like you were talking about, focusing on how this is going to affect the user. But you don't have to be a designer in order to do that. I think most people have a little bit of that empathy. I think most people have been frustrated by some sort of experience. And so do you have any advice for how somebody who is designing a product that is going to be used by a person or affect a person in some way, but they're not a UX designer, how does a person on that team pull off the UX design portion of this? What should an engineer and an engineer and a CS major be doing to design their product or app or whatever that is going to basically make up for a lack of UX designer on the team?
Yeah. Get it in front of your customer as early as possible, whomever you're designing for. You're designing something for the elderly, throw it in front of an elderly person. See what they think. Even if you don't have anything to like actually talk through, just talk to them. Like that would be enough to get the ball rolling. I think that's primary. Like I said, a UX designer, I think any designer's job is to be the advocate for the user that isn't there. If they're not there, go find them.
Find your user.
Yeah.
That should have been the subtitle for the
I have a sticker on the bottom of my
chat.
computer that says, "You are not your user." So like also find your user, but don't be your user. Like I'm, a 30-something-year-old tech-savvy person. My parents aren't. I shouldn't assume that when they look at a screen, they're going to experience it the same way that I am. It's another part of that's another reason why you should go find your user.
That's great. And I mean, it goes to my experience as well, designing durable medical goods. I suppose there's a little bit of UX in this. The project we were working on was done by the Michael Graves Design Group for Kimberly Clark, and we were tasked with making walking sticks and mobility aids, like a cane, a rollator, shower chair, these sorts of things, which are traditionally very medical and clinical and sort of like sterile and gross. The population is now coming into an age range where they need this assistive device. Using a walking stick, using a rollator can extend your life. Above the age of, I think it's 60 or 65, if you have a fall, your chances of dying that year skyrocket it's like 70% or something. I'm making that number up. I don't remember, but it's a shocking number like that. The kind of thing where if you just put a walking stick in somebody's hand, get them to use the mobility aid, you can extend their life by years. But the population just sort of universally looked at that godless gray cane, and we're just like, I don't want that. My parents had that. And so for us, we weren't doing anything technological. A walking stick is a walking stick. A shower chair is a shower chair. What we were doing was talking to our users enough to learn what they value. Baby boomer population has been marketed to for their entire lives because they were such a large chunk of the economy that people have been selling them products by appealing to their egos the whole time. And so turning around and saying, now you need this thing that your grandmother had before she passed away, that doesn't fit with their identity of themselves. So for us, it kind of turned into a UX project where we started from, how do we make this thing so cool, people who don't need it want it? And as we were testing the walking sticks, our first off-tool prototype around Princeton, the people who were testing it were constantly getting tapped on the shoulder and asked by people who were actually using canes to trade. And so we viewed that as a success. Graves calls it blue design, but this design for all people, not just your user. You don't design down to a user, especially people who have accessibility requirements.
Absolutely.
So can you talk to that accessibility piece a little bit? You identify that you're a young person and tech savvy.
Yeah.
How do you put yourself in the head of my mom?
Yeah. Honestly, it's hard because like I'm not visually impaired and I don't have some of these, I mean, I wear glasses, but oftentimes, like I talked about the different roles on the UX team, you know, we have copywriters. We have people whose dedicated job is to be accessibility advocates. They look at the work that's being done by the entire team and they audit it constantly and be like, hey, this is a problem, you have contrast issues. That is somebody's role in and of itself. I'd like to say that like I think about it more than I actually do, but in reality, like a lot of times because of timeline constraints, accessibility is often something that is like secondary to the experience, which it shouldn't be. Like I think it's like you said, you design for the ends of the 99th percentile, you'll capture the issues for everyone. Yeah.
Nice. We back in that design office in Princeton, we had both ends of the physical spectrum in our office. Now, we were designing mobility aids. We had Rob Van Varick, who was, 6'2" or 6'3", and then a very talented designer named Yuka Midorikawa. I've never met anyone with attention to detail like that. We would always give her our drawings to redline, but she was, 5 feet and not much. So we had both ends of the sort of extremity of human scale, and so we would design something, prototype it, hand it to Rob, and he would go, it's all right, it feels a little small in my hand. And we hand it to Yuka, and she goes, I could use it, it feels a little bit big. We know we nailed it. But if Rob is comfortable and Yuka's not, then we missed that. And so you're not going to be able to imagine that.
Yeah.
So I think what you said is it's very important to actually put that in front of the people.
Talk to your user, yeah.
Who need to use it in the end. Okay, so we've been up here for almost a full hour chatting. I would like to open up to questions for the audience, and I think we have some things to throw at you if you ask a good question.
I brought picnic blankets.
Is there anything, before I do that, is there anything that you wanted to add before we turn it over to the crowd?
No, I think the bit about the user and getting into their mindset would help in almost any industry. Doesn't matter what you're working on, doesn't matter what field you're in, just get into their brain. If you can't do it yourself, go talk to them, because you will discover things that you never could have considered yourself. I mean, you just can't. That's just how it works. So I think that's a huge part of like putting in the user experience. All the industries can benefit from that.
Do we have a mic for the crowd? Okay, then I'll just pass this one around. Question? Can I get a staff member to run the mic around? Here you go.
Is it good? Okay. Hi, my name is Jonisa Rodriguez. I am a fourth-year human-computer interaction major here at NJIT. What is it? So you're probably expecting this type of question, so I am going to focus a bit more on AI, since I did see that in your description and like what you had been learning in Audible. And I know a lot of people, especially in this major in HCI, have been kind of wondering how they can allow like AI to be a part of their process without it taking over. So I was wondering how, because what is it, in the job force right now, they all want everyone to kind of partake in using AI in some way, shape, or form to kind of make their like design or research process more streamlined. How do you use it in a way where you are still in control and you're still kind of at the forefront of the research and design while also still utilizing like AI at the same time?
Yeah, great question. I think you kind of said it in your question, but you use it as a tool, right? So like when we're conducting like UX research studies, in the past, I would just come up with questions on my own. Like, what am I trying to specifically ask the participants? I use AI to help come up with questions, but it's not just going to run the study for me, right? Like, it's not going to just curate the questions for me. At the end of the day, I'm just making it easier for myself to come up with the questions. But like, who's conducting the interviews? Like, I'm still doing that. I'm still putting together the actual questions. I'm synthesizing the responses, that sort of thing. So I would see it as like integrating the tool to make the drudgery of the work easier and simpler, but the meat of the work is still going to be done by the person. Decisions still going to be the person's job.
All right. I'll see what other people have to say, and then, I don't know, maybe wrap it back, but.
Great question, though.
Oh, yeah. So my name is Ahmad O'Day. I am also a fourth-year human-computer interaction student. And one thing I wanted to ask you is, when knowing AI and how integrating it into your work give you a leg up, let's say in the job hunt compared to other people?
100%. You need to be using the tools. I mean, if not for anything more than making your workflow more efficient, if you are working as a designer or whatever field you're in, and somebody else is using these tools to work faster than you are, they're going to get a leg up on you. Like, it's as simple as that. So learn the tools, figure out where they fit into your workflow. They're not going to do your job for you entirely, but they will make your job easier, for sure.
Hi, I'm Krish, second year CS and physics major, and one of my hobbies is following tech, the newest trends, newest operating systems, etc. And one of my questions is, how do you deal with new design trends, and when your company or your team wants to integrate into those design trends while also being able to stand out? So, for example, we've all seen the rise of flat icons. Back in the day, they were very they had shading and lighting. They were more complex looking. And back when the internet was growing, it was easier for people to associate them with real objects so that they could click on their interface and actually be able to identify them. But as people became more used to their interfaces, companies became more comfortable with flattening the icons and making them look more professional. So that was a general across the board trend, and now it seems like we're going back to like Windows XP or Windows Vista with the liquid glass. So I was curious about how when you're at a company, how do you square the tension between having a unique product while also having consistent experience? Because you also mentioned the swipe actions. While on iPhone, it might swipe your notification away, but on Gmail, the direction matters. So how do you take advantage of the uniqueness while also creating a consistent experience?
Yeah. I mean, I think from a visual design perspective, every company, every brand has their own thing that they want to showcase. Skeuomorphism is coming back, and I think the trend is partially because Apple just decided, and everyone's just like, okay, well, if they're going to do it, we got to do it. So that reactionary design trend thing is always going to be the case, because there's going to be some leaders that kind of push the direction in one way or another. I think more experientially, let's talk about why we went to flat and then are switching back to skeuomorphism. I think it's because people got, when they got comfortable, like you said, with the digital motions that were no longer tied to like what a physical button looked like, the way it switched on and off, it's because we understood how it works. Like now we just know, okay, this depressed action looks like this. I think as we transition to the opposite, where there's no UI, right? If you've ever used like ChatGPT's voice interface, it's really good. Like it can do a lot of stuff for you. What does it mean when there's no UI, right? And I wonder if from Apple's like design strategy here is they're going to lean into having voice interfaces first, but now because the voice interfaces are so abstract that the visual interface needs to be clearer to indicate something. That's my hypothesis. I don't know if that's actually true, but I suspect that it's like now going to balance the no UI and like really good physically skeuomorphic UI. Another question? No.
Hi, my name is Aaliyah. I'm a digital design major, and I'm in my third year. And my question is kind of two parts. The first part is like, if when you're in the field, say you are a UI designer, and you wanted to go into UX research, how would you do that without like going to school and just more doing it within the field itself, like moving throughout the company? Sure. And then my part two is how do you think, or how do you see the future of UX UI, since it's kind of grouped into one thing, but it's so diverse? Mm-hmm. So how do you see the future of it changing?
I'll start with the first one. So UX research, and I think all design research, is the same. Like the process is entirely the same. The way you come up with your questions, finding your participants, it's all the same process. So if you are a designer already, then you've had some experience conducting some of that research. Industrial design, doesn't matter what it is. If you're in the field, I think you can just talk with your like employer and just say, hey, I'd like to lean into the research aspect of things. I work with people who used to be like dedicated UX designers, and they're like, I don't love the design part of it. I don't like the problem solving part of it. I like the problem finding part of it. And they leaned hard into research, and they're fantastic researchers. So I think it's an organic thing that you can make happen. If you don't have the opportunity to do it at work, you just do it. Like I work with people who just like, they want to be experts in AI. They don't have an opportunity to work on AI because their job doesn't necessarily demand it. So they just do it. And now they are literally leading teams working on AI because they just did it in their free time. So it kind of sucks, but putting in the work on your own can help drive the change that you want to see.
Just to build off of that, you as a person who are subjected to user experiences, if you are interested in moving into research, I think breaking down, and this is the same as true of product design, approaching your own feelings and your own experiences with some intention and some clarity can be really helpful. So like short of even graduating and starting to work in the field that you're currently studying, just start keeping track of times when something delights or frustrates you. And instead of it staying as a mere feeling, start to break down, why do I feel this way? What am I actually subconsciously comparing this to in my head? How do I want it to be? I think that will start to prime you for what is required to do consumer research, which is leading people to express clearly things they feel intently and strongly, but often struggle to articulate. So if you practice that articulation, I think it'll give you some important groundwork towards getting other people to articulate that.
Good. You have to be a good interviewer. That's really what it is. Like the folks that I work with that are like great UX researchers, like the way they talk to people is like incredible. The way they pull information out of them without leading them into something, it's a magical trait, for sure.
I think there's a question up here. Can we get the mic?
Oh, okay, sorry, I have a question. My name's Leah, and I'm a fourth-year industrial design major, but I'm also really interested in the UX user experience field, and so my question was, what made you decide to transition from industrial design into UX, and also, like, what was the hardest part about that transition?
Sure, that's a very good question. So when I was an industrial designer, Towards the end of my time there, I was working on some projects that were digital facing. There was a screen element to it. There was some interaction that the user had to have. And I didn't even know that it was like UX design. I just knew that I had to design some screens. So I was doing wireframing, doing some research, like prototyping what that experience looks like, not realizing that that's UX design, but I loved it. Like I really, really enjoyed it. And for me, like, I liked it so much more that I was surprised that I hadn't discovered it previously. But I just didn't have an opportunity to. So I spoke to people who were in the field. One of my coworkers, her daughter was studying UX design somewhere, spoke with her. And I was just like, this sounds pretty cool. Like, it sounds like something I'd like to do full time. I mentioned before, like, my transition specifically took me a while to like build the courage to leave the workforce, go to school, do the whole thing. But that was just like a risk I, felt like taking. Thankfully, I had family and friends that could support me through all of that transition, so that helps a lot. But if you feel like you're interested in it, just do it in your free time. Like, I think you can squeeze in elements of it, and it turns out you love it, then you can lean into it harder.
Hello, my name is Keita. I'm a lecturer teaching human-computer interaction-related subject. Happen to teach sometimes UX design course. My question is about business. There's a favorite keynote talk in Config 2023. The title is "Design Without Business is Decoration," and I really like that keynote. So I'm just wondering, like in day-to-day your life UX design activities, how much do you connect those UX activities to business impact? How much do you think about business when you do UX thing?
It's always a huge metric for us to consider. So every product, feature, whatever it is that we're working on, always has some metrics. I don't define the metrics necessarily. There are folks that do the data analysis. They're the ones that go, these are our guardrails. We want to increase listening. We want to increase purchasing, whatever it is. There are folks that are very good at defining what thing to focus on. It's something for me to consider as like, if we got to make a design decision that might impact the metric, what trade-off do we want to make? But at the end of the day, like we said before, businesses need to make money. And oftentimes the having to make money wins over the experience, unfortunately. So it's a huge part of it. Thankfully for me, we're bifurcated enough as like a team that I don't necessarily on a day-to-day basis consider it, but like I would never design something that would lower that metric that we're trying to address.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So my name's Lasha. I did my undergrad here in digital design. I'm doing my master's now, and I'm a graphic designer here, working for NJIT.
Nice.
One comment and one question comment. First is I do use Audible every day, and I use it on my phone. Works great. On the PC, I got one piece of feedback. I know your field is acquire new customers, so this will be for
Perfect.
the other department. But there is no volume slider for the desktop app, for the desktop web browser version. So every audio software has an audio slider to turn it down, turn it up. Doesn't have it on the computer. So just wanted to point that out.
I'll forward that to the powers that
Thank
be.
you so much. I will appreciate that. And then next, you guys talked about portfolios and resumes. I think it's awesome to show a portfolio to whoever you want to work for, but oftentimes it's hard to get your portfolio to a person. And the resume seems like a big block that you have to surpass, and it's often not a person that sees your resume at first either. It's a software that scans it, right? Mm-hmm. So, do you have advice for getting past that piece of software to actually get it in the hands of people and like game
the software?
Right.
So I like there's like little tricks, and this is like a silly one, but just the keywords that like the hiring managers are going to be using, tuck those into your thing. Like, white font. It's going to parse it, it'll figure it out, and you'll be moved to the top of the list. For the portfolio, I think a website is easy enough to just have in your resume. Like if there's no place for you to directly submit that, submit your portfolio through a website, and it's easy enough for them to access it from there. It also is like a source of truth. Your resume is going to be passed around to so many folks before you actually get hired. So you want to make it as easy as possible for them to access it. So yeah, make it a website, make it easy for them to find it, and game the AI.
Thank you.
One more thing, and this has been a blessing for me personally with my portfolio, which I haven't needed for years. But sometimes you're struggling whether or not to show confidential work. So in terms of getting people's attention and getting it in front of them, yes, you have to jump through these blasted hurdles that have now been put in between you and getting your resume to somebody. But like that aside, I would strongly suggest having a very boiled down version of your portfolio. A 3 or 4 page, really compelling write-up of one project that showcases what you're best at. That is not going to get somebody flipping through the last 14 pages of this portfolio after they get bored on the first 5. So like a teaser portfolio, which fits in an email attachment, is probably worth having.
Also, a good point about like the confidential work. Like a lot of times you worked on stuff that you can't directly talk about. You could still share it maybe in a conversation with somebody. And so what I've done in the past is password protect my portfolio, where I just turn off the password or change it if I don't want them to have access to it anymore. So you still have the information up there while you're presenting it to somebody in like an actual interview. But once you're no longer talking to them, it's safe to just remove their access to it. Mm-hmm. Another question.
Yeah, hi, my name is Ming. I'm a software engineer first year. I've done a little bit of UI UX design work in Figma as well. And my main question to you as a UI UX designer in software is that how do you feel about buttonless AI interfaces? So like what you said earlier, where with ChatGPT and tools similar to it, where you just tell the machine and it just kind of does stuff for you. How do you feel about that? Because like there's been a lot of attempts from companies to try to integrate that or even like create entire products off of that. So like entire OSs where you just tell the phone what to do and it will just do stuff for you. Because me personally, I still prefer like the old tactile kind of way where you actually have to go in and do the actions yourself. Because I don't really trust the AI yet. I'm not really comfortable with it to like for it to manage my Google Calendar, or even a slightly more extreme / risky, having it like order something from Amazon, like how was it the Comet browser and like GPT Atlas can do that now, because I'm still not comfortable with it. How do you feel about that?
I mean, so I think the touchless interface is moving so fast. Like agentic AI has literally in the past 6 months exploded. And so I think trust is going to be a very, it's going to take a while. We've done like user studies where we like kind of get a pulse on how people are feeling about these things. And trust in like taking actions that involve your money is like really difficult. People do not trust the AI to take your credit card and go buy something on your behalf. I mean, Amazon tried it with Alexa, where you can just buy stuff through the Alexa. Huge fail. Like people don't trust the Alexa to parse, the best deal for me. So things like that, like I think purchasing is going to take a while, but I think just like any other new tool, it'll eventually gain the trust. If it has 15 interactions with you where it does a great job, you're probably going to start trusting it. It just takes a while. But that being said, I think there's a case for a actual interaction UI for anything. I don't think we'll ever kill that. Like cars still have steering wheels because people want to be able to drive. If you got rid of the steering wheel and had a fully trustable vehicle that can self-drive, you probably still want a steering wheel just in case. So I think there's always going to be a case for interactive elements rather than trusting the agent on your behalf.
One quick thing to add to that, and I'm not a UX designer myself, but interfaceless interactions with a computer, that's just a new type of experience. And as that experience becomes ubiquitous, I mean, the best way to stand out is to contrast the ubiquity. So if the majority of interfaces now become touchless, now become voice command, it just makes the interfaces where you are interacting, where your user experience involves touching something, that much more precious, and I think they'll be cultivated as such. Think horses and cars, right? Cars come around. Horses didn't go away. We just started treating them very, very differently.
Even like pen and paper. We still use pen and paper. We're not killing it.
Hello. Oh, that's very loud. Okay. So my name is Pablo. I was actually an intern on Apple Intelligence last summer, and we were exploring a lot on the user interface that it was to interact with Siri. I don't know if you saw, but Claude just released their like this interaction with Claude where it's integrated into the Mac, and so now the chat interface is no longer existing. You just talk to it, and like folks previously mentioned, it takes actions on your behalf. So I've been thinking a lot about how we interact with AI and how there might be a day when, you know, what we thought AI to be as a chatbot no longer exists, and we no longer, the medium in which we interact with it is no longer a chatbot, right? It rather is kind of this concept of it taking actions on our behalf or promoting a custom user interface that, you know, is specifically dependent on the type of prompt we give it. So I've been doing a little bit of research on that, and I was curious, from your, you know, experience and your career, has there been talks or what is your view on having the AI change the interface in which you interact with it based on the type of prompt you ask, not just always being a text-based answer?
I think, first of all, that would be really cool, that the UI changes based off what you're doing. And I think OpenAI is doing that currently with ChatGPT. They just, you know, a couple weeks ago announced apps within ChatGPT. And I think this is their first push towards being some sort of platform, like basically being, you know, the operating system itself. You know, what's right or wrong, I don't really care. Like, what works best, right? If it fits into your life better, that a voice interface with some visual elements is the way to go, great. Like, I think there's nothing wrong with it. You know, smartphones have made our lives better. Does a voice agent that has, you know, conversational interaction gonna make our life better? Maybe. So I think the voice as an operating system is a compelling thing. It's like the science fiction thing that we've always thought, like when you look at like 2001: A Space Odyssey, like HAL takes care of all these things for you.
And then kills you.
And then kills you. But there's something compelling about it. And I'm not opposed to it. I welcome our robotic overlords.
Oh, I'll be in a cave in the woods. The fact that this microphone has come back to me means we're out of swag and probably out of time, so just got to wrap up the Q&A session. We'll be around afterwards if anyone wants to chat. If anyone's got a lot of time, I think we're going to go over to the pub and knock a beer back. Thank you so much for coming. I think this was kind of fun. This is the first time we've ever done the interview style. I think we'll probably be running this back in the future. Thanks for coming. Don't forget to scan the QR codes on your way out. And let's hear it for Darshan.
Thanks, guys.